just leads off into a whole lot more information. So you are right about that. But is that cool? You want to do the at
Yeah,
least
yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
because like this has a lot of good information in it too. All right, now the thing of it is like I said, the slashes appeared to be from the inside, according to these investigators, which means that these hikers fled in a panic. Okay, tracks in the snow, they led away from the tent, but they were disorganized and inconsistent. Now, you also have to remember what I said. These are experienced hikers, okay, who supposedly tore their tents open from the inside and fled barefooted. Let me remind you of that, and half clothed in disorganized opposite directions of one another. Okay.
Okay.
Now, I don't see that happening. I don't see that, especially being disorganized and inconsistent. If and running in different directions, why would they split up? Being expert hikers in the Siberian frickin' in Siberia, you know what I mean? I mean, probably one of the deadliest places on the face of this planet. You know, next to uh, South Pole. And over here in Canada, like in the Yukon, I know that's colder. But other than that, like you don't do that in Siberia. So
Mm.
I don't know. What do you think? Do you find anything suspicious about that?
Well, it could be caused by a number of issues. Um,
Now you
I can only speculate.
hey, you know they came up with the whole avalanche theory, right?
Okay.
They made claims that there's an avalanche, and we can go over that later on too. Okay,
Mm.
um, but that was one of their theories, and like they keep holding on to this idea that an avalanche was responsible for this stuff, and the truth of the matter is there's nothing that indicated that an avalanche took place. Like there was no evidence found by the people who were in the search parties that showed that an avalanche had occurred. Um,
Mm.
with this tent, okay, they had old pictures that you can find. If you pay attention to the video footage, you can also see it. But what they did is they built this tent and they took their ski sticks and they jabbed them into the snow around the tent as like perimeters.
Yeah.
And in the videos and in the pictures, you'll see these same sticks still poking up after they found the tent tore up. Okay. Now, there's a lot of researchers who have said if that was the case, if it was an avalanche, those sticks wouldn't have been there. You know what I mean? They'd have been knocked over, they'd have been gone, but they would not have been there. But they were clearly sticking up out of the snow. All right. And to this day, the Russians still want to say that it was an avalanche. They did another investigation in 2020 and still came up with like mini avalanches now. So it went from an
Mm.
avalanche to mini avalanches. You know. So that's the thing about the tent that I did want to bring up. And then over the following weeks, search teams found the bodies of the hikers, and they were found under various conditions. Okay, the first group included Dyatlov, including Dyatlov, which the Dyatlov incident is named after. They were found within like 1.5 kilometers from the tent. Okay, they wore minimum clothes, and they were found either barefoot or wearing only socks. Now, autopsies revealed hypothermia as the cause of death for these individuals. Okay, now 2 months later, the remaining hikers were discovered in a ravine approximately 75 meters from the others. Okay, these bodies exhibited severe injuries. Now, Nikolai Fabius Brignol suffered a fractured skull. Lyudmila Dubinina and Semyon Delatarov or Valatarov they both had broken ribs. Okay, now these two, or all of them actually, this is what they attributed to falling down, collapsing, stuff like that. Okay, now I could understand scrapes and stuff of that nature, but if you actually go and you look at the footage and you look at the photos that were taken during this time period, you could see that these weren't just scratches and abrasions. They had their knuckles just bare, okay, where they had apparently hit something. You had injuries to their face, dude. One of the girl and the guy who had the broken ribs, they said that a creature or a person could have possibly came up and like put their foot down on the back of their shoulder blades and crushed their ribs like that. But they would have had to have been very strong and very powerful. Okay,
Kind of bear.
right, and it still doesn't explain why two of them had broken ribs and they were both in separate locations. Okay, like this didn't happen in the tent while they were laying down and sleeping. This happened while they were running away.
Okay.
You know? Now, another thing they said is there had to have been an extreme fall that could have caused it. You know what I mean? It's like falling to the earth, maybe being lifted up and falling to the earth. That could have caused it. Some kind of impact that was strong enough to literally crush their ribs had to have taken place, and they don't really have any good explanation for why that took place. The region that they were found on the side of a mountain range, and there was trees or forest that was off in the distance. So they were basically looking down at this forest, and they had a huge amount of area where they could where it was just open space. It was just snow. Okay, and a few of them tried to run for the forest, and they found the bodies that was there. But then there was a couple, or about 3 or 4 of them, I believe, that was found in a ravine. And they said that one of the women had her eyes that were gone, and her tongue was literally missing out of her mouth. Okay, and they said that was due to the water receding into the things. And people who did autopsies on them actually said no, that might have happened with the eyes, but not with the tongue. That wouldn't have happened with the tongue, where it would just not be there. You know what I mean? It was literally pulled out of her freaking mouth.
Okay.
You know, these are the strange things that had taken place there, and the autopsies were supposedly revealed hypothermia as the cause of death for these individuals. And then 2 months later, the remaining hikers were discovered in the ravine, which, as I said, was like 75 meters from the others. So they were able to travel 75 meters, and then they died there by that ravine. One of them with their eyes gone and tongue pulled out. Okay. Or maybe pulled out. That's just my hypothesis, but according to them, they said that because her face was down into the ravine, you know what I mean, the little puddle of water, and they said that the puddle of water could have been what caused that, or it was what caused that, basically, is what they're saying. And then other experts came forward and just said, no, that's not true. It might be true with the eyes, but not with the tongue. Now, these bodies, that were found in that ravine, they exhibited severe injuries, okay, and they suffered from fractured skulls, Lyudmila Dubanina and Samya Volotov had the broken ribs, like I said. Dubanina was also missing her tongue and eyes. Okay, that was the one who had her tongue and eyes missing, and that led to even more speculation about what had occurred. And I agree, that's kind of like that and the broken ribs. Okay, you can't get away from the broken ribs. There's just no way in that terrain. And I suggest that if anybody who has never heard of this heard about it, just type it up. It's Dyatlov Pass, and you spell Dyatlov Dyatlob. Type it up and look at it, and you can see the evidence for yourself, and you'll see what I'm talking about. These guys were badly mutilated. It was a horrible situation. So I suggest that anybody who is interested in this stuff check it out, because it really is a pretty fascinating story. I don't know what you think about it, Mark, but I do find it pretty interesting. Do you think it's a Yeti?
Sorry? I think it's a Yeti.
Do you think it's a Yeti?
Probably not, but who knows?
Now, this next part that we're going to do is going to cover the other anomalies. There's more things that are involved in it. I think if you want to come back with me next week on Wednesday, and we can go through that, because this gets into what you think it is, and that's going to cover more of the military aspects of it, because this, I did want to mention the indigenous culture that was first accused of it, because nobody really covered them too much, you know what I mean? Like, they just kind of briefly went over it and said, oh, these are great people, don't worry about it, you know what I mean? And I'm like, well, what were these people like? And I started actually doing research on them, and they have a really interesting history, is all I gotta say, you know what I mean? Even apart from this, they're a very interesting culture, so if anybody's into that stuff, they might want to check them out. But what's your take?
Interference, but again, speculation.
Well, what kind of speculation are we talking about here?
Well, you've suggested that it could be interference. Those corpses were interfered with either prior to death or after death.
No, I'm talking about before death. Something did that to them. I mean, that's the cause of their death. Okay, like.
But yeah, that could be anything. It could be animal. It could be affluent. It could be falling off the mountain. A mountain. Yeah.
There's nothing there.
Oh, well, they turn an eye then with them, but the broken ribs would.
Yeah, there's nothing to fall off of, dude, at all. It's like,
right?
No.
We've got mountain.
Well, do me a favor and go and look at that when you get a chance, okay? You need to see the terrain, because I'm telling you.
Why? How big is the mountain? Is the mountain like that or that or?
It's